Welcome to another episode of Charros y Clásicos, a Basque Strings podcast. I'm your host, Miguel Gutierrez, and as always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Joel Ozuna.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Charros y Clásicos. Today's special guest is another good friend of ours from Edinburg, Texas. He is a cellist for the Valley Symphony Orchestra. In addition, he's also a cellist for Via Consort, a string quartet based in McAllen, Texas. Most recent, he's a first-year orchestra teacher at Edinburg High School. Please welcome Israel Cantu. Israel.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Have you ever done a recording like this before?
No, this would be a first. Most of my recordings have been cello and music.
So how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was pretty relaxing. I went over to a friend's from the symphony, and we had a lot of food, ate too much.
So was it Thanksgiving or was it Friendsgiving?
It was Thanksgiving, yeah, with her family. But I mean, yeah, it was good.
That's good.
That's good.
What else have you been up to, man?
This week I've just been relaxing, enjoying the Thanksgiving break. So I've pretty much just been sleeping and going to the gym a little more than I have available.
I was going to say, I see you go like twice a day now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to cram in extra sessions since next week we have rehearsals with the symphony, and with work I won't be able to go all the week.
Oh, that's right. You do have a concert coming up with the VSL, right?
Yeah.
This coming Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess let's talk a little bit about what you're currently doing with your life. So you're an orchestra teacher, right?
Yes, I'm assistant orchestra director at Edinburg High School, my first year, and it's going great. I'm really enjoying it, really liking the job, and working with the other directors. We have a good energy and we work well as a team, which I think is very important to have, that good friendly relationship and, mutual respect for each other and, just, get things done.
And any concerts coming up for the students that you're working on? Or you finished?
No, we're working on our Christmas concerts. We have on, I think the week after next, we have one on Tuesday with the varsity, the symphony and the choir, and then on the Thursday I have the one with my JV orchestra and the middle school, since we work vertically aligned, so we work a lot together with the middle school as well.
And how does it feel I know before you were the student and all of a sudden you graduated and now you're a teacher. Did you think about that?
It's quite different. I mean, now, I love the work. It's inspiring every day. You learn a lot from your students. You learn a lot about your own playing. I'm really enjoying it. As certainly there's a lot of things that I remember as a student, like, oh, I would never do that, or like, because if in high school, I would think like, oh my goodness, I would never be like that. And then, once you become the teacher, you understand more of that perspective. It's like, okay, I see more of the perspective and I understand it a lot more, so you kind of build from that, and you do try to do things, your own way, but you have to be open to adapting and modifying, learning.
I was going to ask, are you to the point already where you're thinking, was I like that when I was this age? Or do you think maybe a couple more months?
No, I certainly have some students that remind me a lot about how I was as a student, and it's sometimes frustrating it's like, but at the same time, it's like I see so much of myself in that behavior, in those, little distractions or little things. But, you just gotta, try to nudge them in the right direction and help them see the light.
Yeah.
So in your position right now at the school, do you just work with lower string or do you work with all the sections?
Well, right now, I do. We work vertically aligned, so I help out at the middle school. I start the day teaching beginner cello and bass, and that's it's a great way to start the day because they have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of great energy, and they're just so amazed by the cello and the bass and like learning more, and they wanting to explore their instrument, explore the music. But at the high school, I do work with the JV orchestra. I do have to work with the entire, violin, viola, cello, and bass. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I had to step up and take the whole program by myself. Essentially, I was getting assistance with from my head director while she was away, but I did have to do my best to try to run things day to day. We had our first concert, which was quite an experience. I conducted 4 out of the 6 pieces we were doing. That was very interesting.
So in a way, for about a month or 2, you were the boss.
Kind of, but I did have the middle school director. She would help out a lot, and we would do what we could, try to keep things going. The first concert was quite interesting because I felt like the music stuff was good. We worked very hard and we did our best to prepare, and even, with only one dress rehearsal with the pianist and the drummer joining us, we pulled it out and it came out successfully. But the one thing that I won't ever forget is getting hit with performance anxiety right as, the show is about to start.
On the podium?
And, yes. And
wow.
Well, it was before I even got to the podium.
Oh, dang.
I went, I had to introduce, welcome everybody.
Oh, the speaking part.
The speaking part. Yes. That was certainly something I'll never forget. You have to just calm down, breathe. And I felt like, my throat dried up and I was just literally speaking into the mic and I use that as a teaching experience for my students too, right after, after concerts you debrief and it's see guys,
Right.
Performance anxiety is real and you just have to learn to overcome it. And,
And that's good that you're introducing them to that now.
Yeah.
At this point in their time, because if they decide to pursue music, you have to get over that eventually.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very, because when I was in school, nobody told me about performance anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I suffered that later in college, and nobody told me how to overcome it. I kind of had to read and talk to people.
There's a lot of people who are just oh no, just push through, you'll be fine. But it's
right.
It's not something you can fight. It's necessarily it, in a sense, it is your body's going into fight or flight, and you have to learn to embrace it, not try to fight it, because the more you fight it, the more it fights back. So you have to just take a step back, breathe, and just do what you can do, to overcome it.
Now, as you talking like this, the people that know you, I know you well, but you're kind of a fitness expert now. So you have more knowledge of what, do's and don'ts, right? About your body and how to apply it towards performing and whatnot. But I want to talk about that a little later. The one thing I want to talk about now is you mentioned exploring the instrument as a kid. So let's talk about you. How did you decide to choose cello?
That's a funny story. So I joined orchestra in 6th grade at Biel Garza with Dixie Setti. And I originally joined orchestra because I really liked the sound of violin. But I went in there and, she saw my big hands and she's like, oh, you'd be perfect for bass. So I was like, okay. So I went and I was a bass player for all of 2-3 weeks, maybe 4. And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. So I actually left orchestra and I went to art for the rest of the year. But I wanted to learn how to play music. So the next year I came back as a 7th grade beginner. And that's when I was like, no, I'm going to do cello.
Wow. So you didn't do 6th grade orchestra, just maybe 4 weeks and that's it.
Yeah. No.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. I was in it for a little bit and I was too frustrated with the size of the instrument, but now I understand and I respect bass players a lot more. But at the time I was just kind of turned away, like, I don't want to do this. And I mean, from that exposure, I did listen and I heard more about the cello, and I was intrigued and very fascinated by it. And so I knew the following year, I was like, I want to do cello. Yeah. So that's 7th grade. That's when I started.
And so when you played cello in 7th grade, you were placed with all the beginners?
Yes. I remember I was a few weeks into 7th grade, and the director, she was kind of, debating, like, maybe I could put you in advanced because you do have some knowledge and, you pick it up fast, or, somewhat. So maybe we can push you, but I think I just stayed in beginner for that. But I mean, I used it to learn and expand and
grow.
Yeah.
So you went the rest of the way through orchestra in BL and then Edinburg North, right?
Yes, Edinburg North, which I mean was a big step up. I know they have a good program, but he pushes his students a lot. I remember going in my freshman year, we did Scheherazade, which is not an easy piece.
When you say he, you're talking about Moses Yanis.
Yes, Moses Yanis. He was my high school orchestra director. Huge inspiration for me, but I mean, there's also many things that, like, as a student, I was like, oh my goodness, he's too much, but now I understand a lot more of his perspective. I still think he's too much, but I see where he's coming from.
Okay. So, I mean, I didn't know this about you, but now that you mention it, I have to ask. So in a way, you were kind of playing catch up.
Yeah.
Right. So when did you feel that you had caught up?
Oh, I'm still trying to catch up. No, I mean, I think around maybe sophomore, junior, I felt like adequate.
I got this.
Yeah, like I never quite felt like I was a great musician, like great cellist, but I just enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed performing in a group with my friends, and just making music. I remember it was like senior year, and I was with a couple friends, and we were talking about like what we were going to do after. And I still wasn't sure if I wanted to pursue music for sure. And I was like, oh, maybe music. And then I remember a bass player told me, it's like, why are you going to pursue music? You're not even that good. And I remember that hit, like, I was like, I guess.
I remember you used to go to the shop where I used to work, and you stood out to me. This kid from Edinburgh driving all the way to McAllen to look at instruments, and there was something about you that I remember saying, I think he's going to be I think he's serious about this. And I think I saw you a few times, and then you ended up purchasing an instrument.
Yeah, so like over the summer, like after high school and before college, I had applied to the university, UTPA back then, and I was actually enrolled as a mechanical engineer major. But like right before the schools was starting, it was like August, I was like, I can't see myself feeling fulfilled or happy. Certainly like my family and everybody was like, oh, that's awesome, you should go. Of course I did have, I did well in my math courses and science. So like I did have an inclination towards that, but I ultimately felt like I wouldn't feel happy or fulfilled just doing that. So it was like August when I went to the shop to go get a cello, and it's like I'm going to do this. Go get a music degree, and
Is anyone in your family musically inclined, or are you the first?
Certainly to pursue it as a classically trained musician, I was the first. I did have like an uncle and some cousins that they did like norteño music, like accordion and bajo sexto and all that stuff, but certainly not in this. Even
in this field.
Yeah, even my mom's like, where did this come from? Kind of to an extent, I would always push her like, go see it. But she's like, no, that's not my, my mi mero mole. Yeah,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I really enjoyed it, growing up, when I would listen to music, sometimes I would sit there and I would just, you get so involved, I would even start crying. And I was just like, it's not because I'm sad. It's just because I'm just really,
enjoying it.
yeah, and then I'm really into soundtracks and like all that, like cinematic, music. Like I can just get lost in it. And really,
Did you face opposition from your family when you said, I want to study music?
to an extent, yeah, like they didn't really understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is something very common in the area still.
Definitely. And, they see that I liked it, but they didn't see how can you make a career or a living out of this,
the potential.
Yeah. Ultimately, I mean, it's not, we don't go into this for the money. We go into this, because we want to.
Passion.
We go in it for the passion and to make music and to inspire and to create the next generation of broke musicians. I'm just kidding.
I was going to ask you, when you mentioned that you purchased your cello, could you say that was something, buying a cello is a big investment? Did that help you, pursue music even further?
Well, that's like the beginning of a beautiful relationship. My instrument, it's a big part of me. And having an instrument, of decent quality, it does inspire you to want to play more, to want to practice more. But yeah, no, it did make me feel like, okay, now I'm actually, committed to this. I'm going to be, my mom put some money towards this, they're sacrificing. Yeah, even if they don't completely understand it, they are supporting it. So, it did make me kind of like, okay, put your money where your mouth is kind of deal.
So growing up, before university, did you ever have private lessons?
No, I mean, there was like, when I was in high school, there were some, you do get some individualized help, but I never took lessons like outside of that, where, you just go and you work with a cello teacher for an hour and you try to, learn some repertoire, get better at your technique and things like that. It wasn't really until college where I was, I had that actual better structure to learn and expand your abilities.
As a personal experience of mine, I didn't have lessons growing up. So when I went into college and started lessons, it was a complete shock to me. And I took time to adjust into that. So I ask everybody, did you experience something similar? So in your case, did you adjust well when you started working with Dr. Jansen?
At first, not quite. I mean, I did, I tried, and I learned a lot from him, definitely. But, I think the beginning of my college, I wasn't in the right, mind space. I would struggle a lot with like following through on what you have to get done. I would just kind of do what I wanted to get done, which eventually caught up with me. And
that's a very good way of putting it. What I want.
Yeah. No, I loved, I would practice my music and try to, play the orchestra stuff and get all that done. But, there's also, your theory and your other classes that you have to do, and also do well on to be able to keep continuing onto the program. And of course, like, you have your, what's it called? The core classes, like your histories and your English, all that stuff that even if they're non-music related, you still need them as part of your degree. I was always kind of just like, whatever, but, yeah.
So right now, when we were debriefing you about the recording, you mentioned that you see your college life in 3 chapters.
Yes.
Right? You want to talk about that for us?
Okay. So I went into college, 2011, fall of 2011. And, I had nothing but enthusiasm and passion, and I wanted to get better, but I didn't have the structure within myself or like the discipline to just sit down and do the work, do what you have to do. And like I said, eventually got to a point where it caught up with me. And, I did get, kind of like, expelled for a little bit. I had to take some time away from school because, you need to be doing well to continue the program.
Right.
You can't just like, okay, we'll try again. So I took some time away from music, from the university. I kept performing. I kept, gigging, doing, just freelance, cello, playing, but, it wasn't, I wasn't pursuing it for a bit, for a while.
So you could say that you use that time to kind of reflect.
Yes. And I did change a lot of, how I was doing and with myself, like, my relationship with myself, I guess, changed. That's when I started to get more serious about my fitness and taking care of my body and taking care of my, just well-being. Yeah, no, like I remember, when I first started, around, college, I was like about 370 pounds.
Wow.
So I lost quite a bit of weight, and now I try to eat healthy and try to take care of my body, and I try to, just stay active and just be healthier.
So was during that time off that you discovered this new, I guess, fitness journey?
Yeah. I got into it and I was trying to grow from it and trying to get better. It changed how I see the body and how I use it. And of course it did affect my cello playing, because before, we talk a lot about posture when we're trying to teach and we're learning music and getting better, but on actually understanding the function of your body and how it affects, your playing it was very eye-opening for me to see that. And I still try to think of a lot in like, through kinesiology and how's your body functioning, what, even your breathing affects how you play.
Around this time too, or a little before, you joined Viol Consort, right?
Yeah. So I joined them. It's been 10 years. I joined them, I think second year. So 2012.
Can you tell us a little bit about Viol Consort, who they are?
Viol Consort, it's a string ensemble, from that, Sam Heredia runs. And, with them, I got a lot of exposure to a lot of, weddings, private events. You get to see that side of, gigging, and kind of, you get a lot of experience, coordinating with wedding planners and officiants and priests and clients, of course, that are, very demanding and they want everything to be perfection. And,
You could say that's the private sector.
Yeah.
Of performing. Yeah.
Yes, I got a lot of exposure to that. And I also, through that, I think I developed my chamber music skills, where you kind of learn to communicate with others, just with looks and, with your playing. And, I also learned a lot about sight reading. Well, I mean, I didn't learn a lot about sight reading, but I you always have to show up.
It strengthened your sight reading.
Yeah, it strengthened it a lot. And, you always have to be, ready for what's next. Certainly playing in, like Catholic, masses and stuff, you always have to be ready. Like, you perform, the prelude at the beginning, but you also have to be ready for like whatever's next.
An order or series of events.
The parts of the mass, which I mean, before I had no experience, I knew nothing about. Now I still kind of like, it helps to have a little program or understand what's coming next. But, you always have to be on your toes. You have to be ready, and you have to, be a good reader. You also have to learn, how to react or not react when, you're performing and somebody just walks up to you and snaps a picture, or somebody walks up to you and they're recording. I remember the first, when I was first getting into it, to me, it would kind of throw me off, like, what the heck, but, you learn how to just, perform and,
adapt.
Yeah. You learn how to adapt. And, if you see someone coming, you have to keep going and, even smile or something. Yeah.
And so these are the skills that you learned during that break, right?
Yeah.
And then after that break, was that when you decided to go back to school, or how did that come about?
So I went back to school. So the second chapter of my schooling, I think I had more structure and more discipline to get done what I had to be done. But I wasn't in the right headspace. Like, still, I had a lot of negativity within me that ultimately like made me feel like overwhelmed, or like I don't know. I guess in a sense, I felt like my mind was clouded by everything that was going on, and so that time I decided to pull myself out of school. Like, I withdrew mid-semester. It wasn't like I was failing a class or anything. I just felt like I need to step away and breathe, you know? So I took another break from school. And then I think I was just trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? I was out for a bike ride, and I decided, I had a friend who would always tell me, she said that I gave like really great massages and stuff. So I decided to give it a try, and I called up a trade school and try to see what to pursue massage therapy. Which because I already had some inclination towards, you know, the body and, you know, how it functions. I thought that would be a good outlet of good experience for me. So I went to trade school. I learned about the body. I learned how to, you know, help people feel better. But also I credit an instructor that I had her for only 2 weeks when at the beginning, but she really, like, her energy really stuck with me about how to be positive and how to just like persevere, you know, regardless of everything that's going on. Like, and at first, you know, I was a little pessimist, and I was like, whatever. But I tried it, yeah.
We are all guilty of that.
Yes, yeah. No, but I tried it, and, you know, and little by little I saw that, you know, if you are positive and you do just, you know, face things with good energy, like, you are going to start seeing better things resulting for you. So I think that's why I was able to, when I did eventually return later to school, like, I was able to just get things done and like and kind of just push through and be positive and just so I did massage therapy for a bit, but I mean, it was very taxing on the body for me. I mean, it was rewarding in its own ways, but I felt like I couldn't see myself doing this for, you know, too long down the line. So then out of nowhere, I ended up going to West Texas to work in the oil field for a bit.
Wow.
Well, before we go into that, I'm curious, how long was your trade school?
Trade school was about 8 months or so. It wasn't a long program.
And then I remember you working at certain studios, right? After that, how long did you do that?
I was about 2 years, maybe.
So
2 years tops.
Just so listeners can understand that you invested some time in this. You didn't just dabble.
Yeah, no, I was working in it professional. I mean, I would still gig on the weekends because I know.
So you kept playing though?
Yes, yeah, I kept playing, but that was my quote unquote my day job. You know, I really got into like deep tissue and like sports massage and sports recovery, working with athletes to help them perform better, to feel better and be able to, you know, function with their body and pain-free and stuff like that.
You also would do home calls, right? Like go to people's houses?
Yeah, I did. But I mean, it was kind of a lot to just be taking a table and setting up. But I mean, I would do that for a bit too.
And so after that, that's when you started your gig with the oil fields?
Yeah, I went out. You know, a lot of people here, they see that as a way to chase the money, you know. So I tried it. I went out to West Texas. I was there for a bit. I remember I started, you know, as a bass helper, and then, you know, little by little, I kind of got pushed into like more of the administrative side a little bit, because I was working, and then somehow I ended up becoming the safety inspector, which I thought was I thought it was kind of funny, but they had me do that role of, you know, making sure everything was safe and everyone was, you know, wearing their PPE, their personal protective equipment, and, that they were staying hydrated, things like that. But that's around when the pandemic hit. And the contractor I worked for, they went from like 80 to 90 employees. They downsized to like less than 20. I still had a job, but I saw that it's like, okay, this is not good, And that's when the university, they were sending out emails to, ex-students or so that to get back in school, that they were offering helps and stuff. So I was there in my work truck and I got on the laptop and I was like, okay, I'll see how it goes. I contacted Dr. Jansen. I was like, hey, I kind of want to go back, and I did. I was there. I would work my long hours and then I would go home. I had my cello up there in West Texas and I would try to prepare somewhat of an audition to get back into the program because, of course, every time you go back, you have to prepare an audition.
Re-audition, yeah.
Yeah, so I did, and I got back in, and I think that's my last chapter of school. That's when things were kind of falling into place, I, like the beginning of my college years, I wasn't always, the best student. I wouldn't always get like good grades, C's get degrees type of mentality, But when I went back for that, that's when I started like actually following through, and it certainly wasn't easy, and it was hard, but you could just have to learn to push through and just keep going at it. If you feel overwhelmed, just work on one thing at a time. And I was doing reasonably well. I was principal cellist of the symphony for a bit.
I was going to say, last year, Joel and I went to see you guys in Brownsville.
Yeah.
You played a concert, and I saw that you were sitting principal, and I said, oh, look at that. You even got a solo that time?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just thought, wow, like, you've come really far.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's because, you have to work at it. I remember sometimes in my earlier years, you try to practice something, try to do something, and it's very easy to get negative in your practices and just be like, whatever, and just push it away. But you have to push through. You have to persevere. I mean, I started doing better in my classes. I mean, it wasn't certainly when it's an easier, and I certainly felt like very overwhelmed still, but I had that push to like just get it done, do what you can. If you can't do everything, take small steps. I was on the dean's list. I started getting better grades. I even got the president's list.
Nice.
Wow.
So which I had never experienced before. Getting all A's in a semester. I was like, okay.
And then what did Dr. Jansen say? Did he notice a big difference?
Oh yeah, no, certainly. We talked about it after more, like how my journey changed. He said he really enjoyed the last years because I was just had more discipline and it was a little more structured. I certainly could have practiced more. Certainly could have been done better.
Right.
But there's something about just seeing that you get your things done and you're, I mean, not perfect, but you're working at it and not just like whatever, this week wasn't too great. But yeah, no, I did put him through a lot as my cello professor. But he helped me grow, and I mean, yeah, it was overall, like, now we do talk, and sometimes I'll message him and be like, I am so sorry for everything, But because now that I'm the teacher, I see some of those behaviors in students where I'm just like, okay, all right.
So in a sense, you've come full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know what it's like to be, the last chair class clown in the orchestra, to work your way all the way up. And now I'm the director and I'm like trying to push my students to go through that journey as well. It doesn't matter where you're at. It just matters that you have the drive to push to get better, to expand.
So one of your recent accomplishments was you joined Valley Symphony Orchestra last year, right? You played a whole season with them.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
It was a very fun experience. They asked me to join because I was principal at the symphony, UTRGV Symphony. This year I auditioned again, and they put me on the sub list. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm more focused on right now on my director job, and so I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll join them for concerts here and there as I am able to. But playing with the symphony it's very fun. It's rewarding. I get to work, talk to other musicians, there's a lot of directors there too. There's people from, they're just there to make music, and it's certainly an adventure every time.
You're playing this upcoming week, right? You have a concert?
Yeah, we have the Touch of Frost concert coming up next Friday, which should be fun. It's a Christmas program, so it's nothing too difficult, but it'll be fun. And Christmas music always puts me in the mood for it's not Christmas until you play Christmas music.
Of course.
For us musicians,
Right. I think my next question for you is, do you have any words of advice for the young ones, that are thinking about pursuing this journey, this career? What's your biggest piece of advice?
My biggest piece of advice is to just work hard and always, don't compare yourself to others, because I know that happens a lot in music. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself, to where you want to be, to how you want to grow. I remember I used to be, I had a lot of negativity when I would see someone who was better than me. I would think terrible things, like, I wish they broke their finger or something. It's like, that's not gonna make you a better musician yourself. Like, you have to understand, and you have to learn to celebrate others as well. It's not a bad thing if somebody else does better than you. They put in the work. You should admire that. But you just have to learn to be disciplined and to, don't get stuck on where you're at. Focus more on where you want to be and how to take steps towards that. And practice your skills.
Yes, lots of skills. Yes.
Well, thank you again, Israel, for sharing your story with us. I hope your story inspires others to follow their dreams. And I just want to say, I respect you a lot. You work really hard, and it seems like everything that you put your mind to, you achieve, from finishing school, finishing your trade school, and all those things. So for that, I admire you for that.
Thank you for having me. I was a little hesitant. I was like, oh goodness, what do I even talk about? My story's not that interesting, or at least I feel. But I mean, if it can help somebody, find their way, to go where they want to be. It's not necessarily about, I'm not trying to, even as an orchestra director, I'm not pushing all my students like, you have to be musicians, because ultimately you want people to pursue what makes them happy, what will fulfill them. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see the shop is doing well.
Thank you. As your friend, because I've known you for almost 10 years now. Next year will be our 10th year of knowing each other. I've seen you grow. I've seen you go through all this trial and adversity, and you've come a long way. And that's probably one of the main reasons why to Joel, we have to get him in there too. We have to get his story down, because it's a very good, inspiring story. It teaches everyone that no matter what happens, you can always pick yourself back up, if not once, twice, or thrice.
Yeah.
To get it done. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And I guess now we're going to talk a little about upcoming events, right, Joel?
Yes. So we do have the VSO concert coming, December 2nd. at the McAllen Performing Arts Center at 8 p.m. We also have the Roma ISD is hosting their annual Mariachi Christmas concert featuring Grammy-nominated Mariachi Sol de Mexico de Jose Hernandez, and that will be in Roma, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't you have a concert coming up?
Yes, the Rio Grande Valley Ballet is doing Nutcracker December 10th and 11th at 3 p.m. I think tickets start at $25.
And that will be at the McAllen Performing Arts Center.
Yes, that's correct. So thanks for listening, folks.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.